Peace and blessings. Healing Source 7. Here, Sister Nia Yaa. And I am here with my spiritual mother and teacher, Sister Mama as I call her, Dr Ayaba Bay. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, but you can call me sister.
So we are just coming to you. Sister Ayaba
Yes, ma'am.
is a very well known, what's the word I want to say is, she is very well versed and has a lot of knowledge on healing, on working with the ancestors. A lot of the things that I do, I learned from Mama Yaba years ago. She helped me on my path and on the spiritual journey in a lot of ways. I actually always come and see her because I have to give thanks for those elder mamas who were the first ones who went out the way that they did in wearing their hair naturally and representing the African queen image to us. Because when I started growing my locks back in the early 90s, it was only a very few women that I saw who wore locks, and but all of them were just some of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. And so when I thought about how I wanted to look, the kind of woman that I wanted to be, it was these women like Mama Yaba who, that's how I wanted to be, dressed all beautifully African back in the days, where everybody was always, just beautifully adorned and shining. And, our experience has changed a little bit. But it was seeing those sisters, they, made clothes, they made jewelry, they had their own businesses, they took care of their children at home. Or had homeschool co-ops. Yeah. They had restaurants, they had bands, and they really made us, or people like myself who were interested in culture, they made it seem like something that we wanted to do, because I could see the peace and the joy and the love in the community at that time. And so, of course, things changed.
Well, since you want to bring that up, I would like to also add to that I was not the first, so therefore I must have had some examples, and those examples started actually in New York. I left Richmond, Virginia, moved to what they call Sugar Hill. We always had such nice, colorful descriptions of our communities in those times. And in Sugar Hill, from Sugar Hill, I moved to Brooklyn, and a place called the East Cultural Center also was the home of the Uhuru Sasa Shule, or the Freedom Now School, and it was headed by a group of brothers and sisters from Brooklyn who had also been teachers in the Brooklyn public school system. And from there I would go and visit this place up in upstate New York with a woman named Queen Mother Moore. Mm-hmm. And Queen Mother Moore, dressed in African garments, and she was a real black nationalist, if you would want to call it that, cultural nationalist. And she always promoted the idea that an African descended woman, a Native American descended woman, an Aboriginal descended woman was all those things that Sister Kajara just stated, not like in the West where you're categorized and put into a box. You're a specialist in this or a specialist in that. But in our culture, all the Aboriginal cultures, you're a specialist in everything, because everything is what it's all about, especially if you are a female. And as you know, the female, according to the science that these people have studied out of our own ancient Kemetic schools, headed in some periods of time by great brother Imhotep himself, the master medicine man, architect, agriculturist, astrologer. So if you don't know about him, please don't go by what's in the movies, because you are living in a time, as she said, times have changed, but in reality, the evil energy, or the DEVEL, which D stands for Dalet in Hebrew, which means doorway, and evil is just what it is. So the Dalet, or the doorway to evil, has expanded because more and more people are buying into it. It's such a subtle energy. However, in those days, the subtle energy was the energy of creativity and knowledge of self, spearheaded, of course, by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was the first one to come out and say, hey, black folks, you need to get knowledge of self. And we didn't really quite understand what knowledge of self was, but whatever it was, we were ready to learn about it. There was Baba Ishangi Razak and his family, which he had, at that time when I met them, 4 wives and a lot of children. And the night that I saw them perform at the East Cultural Center, his head wife, her first wife, was quite pregnant. And they were doing the stick dance. And they all were doing it. And in order to do the stick dance, you dance around the stick where you keep the rhythm with the stick and you get down really, really low, like in squats. And everybody said, she's going to have that baby. She keeps squatting like this. And of course she did. She had the baby the next day. She delivered it herself. So we were growing up in a society that made it seem like you had to be sick in order to have a baby. You got to go to the hospital to have a baby. I was born in my grandmother's bed, and I'm so thankful that I can say that. So there are a lot of things going on in the West that is quite contrary to natural life. It's contrary to the spiritual order of life. And that is why during the 60s, so many white people, or Caucasians, if you want to call them that, because they're definitely not white. In Steve Biko's movie, he called them pink people. However, whatever they wish to call themselves, the others were quite involved in learning about other people's cultures. And in learning about other people's cultures, they have no problem in adapting the ways and the rituals of the cultures of other people. Now, I'm not mad at them for that, and you shouldn't be either. As a matter of fact, you could learn something from them by adopting and adapting yourself to the cultures of your own ancestors. However, because of their willingness to do this and their nature to do that, they've preserved much of the information and history. The way history, according to Dr. Ben, means his story, the way he tells the story. So it behooves you, it's important that we collectively begin, those who have not yet begun, to learn about your own culture and tell my story, mystery, the hidden story. One of the reasons why we are in the flux that we're in now, which Sister Kajara called change, is because there's so many of us have been swept away by the tide of illusion. The movie The Matrix showed you that. And by the way, The Matrix was written by an African American woman, and she had to sue them in order to get her money that she deserved. But back to the point. The point of the matter is this. As a female, and Fe in the table of elements represents iron, I-R-O-N. And male has the word ma, which is female, and le in it, which is in some languages a word for the. So female means the iron or the strength of the man, and the strength of the man is his mama, because the first person to teach him is his mama. And if she spoils him, he's going to be rotten. And then his next mama has to be his woman, who hopefully will have the power and the spiritual intelligence enough to give him the freedom that he will need to expunge himself from that overpowerful mama energy. Now, she didn't mean any harm by being so protective of him, because back in the day when a young male would leave home during slavery time, mama would be the one that said, boy, you better be back here by such and such a time, be back here before the sun go down. Why? Because she was afraid for his life. And now mama, and in case some of you don't know why she was afraid for his life, because in those days he could have been kidnapped and sold to another plantation owner. He could have been kidnapped and castrated. If you don't know what that means his penis would have been taken from his body. He could have been kidnapped and hung. If you don't know what that means, then lynched, hung from a tree until dead, or tarred and feathered. Now, some of you don't want to hear these types of things, but go talk to a Jew about the Holocaust. He'll tell you everything. Talk to an African American about his past, he don't want to talk about it. Oh, it's too terrible, it's too painful. Well, you need some pain. Sometimes you need some pain to kick you in the memory butt, so that you will be, so that you will care for what's going to happen in the future. There's a movie that came out called Sankofa. It means go back and get that which you left behind. Show me one person who, if they got lost in the woods or in the forest or in the neighborhood, wouldn't turn around and look back to see where he came from, so he can try to ascertain where and what direction he should be going in to get to where he's trying to go. You have to stop me.
Well, you rolling, and what you're saying is obviously the message that needs to be heard at this time. So,
well, one of the things we were talking about early was bitterness. Did you want to return to that?
Yes, no doubt.
Well, Sister Kajara speaks often about the womb and what's going on with the womb. See, I almost said moon, because the womb and the moon are very much connected. So what I had said to her in so many words was the fact that many of our women are bitter, and they hoard this bitterness, and this bitterness is locked into their femininity. And what is femininity? Well, look at the word feminine. If you transpose it like music, it becomes iron of mind. So feminine is strength, it's power, it's the element of creativity. It is the secret that the Creator blessed this entire earth, with which he blessed this entire planet. The earth itself is feminine, actively growing and participating by way and through the energy of the male, or the force of energy that causes life to manifest in the earth. Women today say things like, it's my body, I do what I want to do with it. It's not your body. You did not create this body. The first element of this body was created from the, what's the word I'm trying to find? From the force that had all things in it. Now you know that heat exists. You know that air exists. But you only know it exists by what it affects. So if you go out in the world and you get cold because the wind is blowing, you'll pull your coat up around your neck. If you look up and see the leaves swaying in the breeze, you know that there is a breeze. You know that there is wind. If you go into a place and it's very hot, you can't see the heat, but you experience the heat. So you might start taking some of your sweaters and coats and jackets off. That's how you know that that which is invisible affects the visible. So when a male and a female join together, see, in America they call it having sex, but sex is is an offshoot of the number 6. And if you don't know what the number 6 stands for, you need to go look that up. I'm not telling you everything, because you have to do some work yourself. That mind that is between your ears is yours, and it's a gold mine. You need to go in there and mine it sometime, so you can uncover and discover things that your ancestors left in there for you to use.